You either wasted a hell of a lot of money the last 2 years, which I know is not the case, or we're making some severe cuts.
It does not hurt the economy.
We don't fund growth in this budget.
We'll be able to eliminate the structural shortfall. We'll be in good shape in 2013.
The state budget passed the Senate and is now on what's sure to be a heated conference committee meeting between the two chambers. Welcome back here to Session 11 for an inside look at the challenges and the issues facing the state capitol this week. We turn to our On Politics panel. Robert Garrett is a reporter for the Dallas Morning News, and Patty Kilday-Hart is a reporter for the Houston Chronicle. And our Josh Hinkle also joining the panel today to field your online chat questions. Welcome to you all. And we had the scene in the Senate where the rules were changed up a little bit, all within the legalities, of course, but the Senate passed that controversial budget. And what are the consequences of that, do you think?
We don't know what the consequences are for the Senate for the future. They have really stirred up the Democrats by basically eliminating their only leverage. But the budget consequences, Robert, are that the Senate goes in about, I think it's now about a little over $10 billion higher than the House, which is, you know, a cut of about 7% in current spending, but it's really more like 16% cut based on what it would take to serve the growing population and factoring in inflation. I think the House is willing to come up on education, but probably not on some of these other things that would be needed to keep nursing homes open. That's my guess. So I think the complication is not just getting a budget, but it's all these other bills that they need to undergird the amount of spending they're doing, that some of it's phony money, as you know, smoke and mirrors.
Patty?
One of the things I find interesting is this session is how off limits the rainy day fund has become. We all know that it has not been that way in the past, that it's been spent for any number of things. I talked to Rick Perry this week about that. He, in fact, dipped into it, asked lawmakers to dip into it in 2003 to fund the Texas Enterprise Fund. And it's just kind of interesting that it's become an off-limits savings account. It's got $9 billion in it. It's tax money that's already been collected. It's sitting there, and for some reason, mostly because outside conservative groups have deemed it to be off-limits, it's been taken out of it's no longer a factor in balancing our budget, even though it was set up to do exactly that, to help cushion downturns in the economy. And so I think it's kind of fascinating that somehow we're not able to talk about using the rainy day fund this year.
It was, as Scott McCown was pointing out to Arlene Wolgemuth, the Economic Stabilization Fund when it was created in the last horrible budget times in the late 80s in Texas. But I think it's now the Climate Stabilization Fund, because now the governor talks only about hurricanes and tsunamis and things like that we need to save it for.
He keeps bringing it up for the wildfires too, of course.
The wildfires.
One Senate staffer did some research and found that the state of Texas expenses for cleaning up after Rita and Ike put together were $100 million. So we've got a $9 billion fund. The governor says we need to save it for future hurricanes, but in fact our last two big ones, you know, would be a drop in the bucket for that.
You know, the Texas Forest Service keeps telling us, you know, it's $1 million a day, and even if this goes on for an entire year, that's only $365 million. And they're talking we've got $9 billion to $12 billion in the rainy day fund. It just doesn't really add up to me.
When we used to use it, it was a small couple of billion available each session. And one of the reasons it's a big deal now is the fact that we cut property taxes in 2006 and didn't fully finance that. And in fact, that was a battle between Governor Perry and Steve Ogden and Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst. Perry wanted to give tax refunds and get rid of the rainy day balance. The Dewhurst and Ogden Senate side said, no, we're not sure we can pay for these property tax cuts. That's why it's just amounted to more and more money, and it's a bigger deal. But it's more, I agree with Patty, it's more an ideological issue than that it's a real money practicality.
One of the things people are talking about today on chat, they saw what the Republicans did with the Senate budget, you know, pushing it through in the way that they did. And then yesterday, with everything that happened with the tort reform bill, do you think Republicans are going to be like that for the rest of the session?
I think the Republican House leadership probably wishes they hadn't come in yesterday. So I don't know what they're going to do. The Democratic tactics, on the other hand, seem to be sort of indiscriminately trying to stop everything. So I don't know how the House leadership's going to come back and sort this out. It may be after a Mother's Day break, everybody will come back and sweetness will prevail, or it may be this way for the rest of the session.
We saw a pretty amazing spectacle yesterday. Obviously, all these bills are directed towards the Democratic interest groups, the trial lawyers,
teacher
Hispanic
groups.
voter teachers groups.
Right.
So where do you see it going?
I don't know, because all of those bills are a lot of them are bills that the governor has pushed forward as emergencies and things, when the bills they really need to pass, I'm back to the thing I was talking about, and that is really at risk right now, are these little bills that go along with the budget that will make the budget work and keep us out of special session. Those bills can't come up until we get through this agenda.
I think it's one of the themes of this session is how do the Democrats, when they are so powerless, their numbers are so low compared to the number of Republicans, how do they launch an effective opposition? And I don't think they have found that yet. I think just blowing things up makes them look really bad. They're getting in the way of passing things. At the end of the day, they are going to lose legislation that they want passed. And I don't think I've seen a smart strategy so far emerging.
Got about 30 seconds. You think we're heading for a special session?
Like I say, I think they can avoid it. I don't think they're that far apart on the budget to get a deal, but I think there's so many balls in the air that we could have a quick special session even to finish those. I'm thinking, I'm more optimistic now.
10
I
seconds.
think so. I think so.
Okay. Thank you both for coming in. We appreciate you hearing what's going on at the Capitol this week. And we're back with more Session 11 here on KXAN right after this.